Let's move on to our final game of the hop around. It's a game that looks to be exciting. It's Manchester United versus Leicester City at Old Trafford. Man United are third. They've won 14, drawn 4, lost 5, a goal difference of +10. Leicester are 13th. They've won 7, drawn 3, lost 12, and a goal difference of -2. And this game will be played on Sunday at Old Trafford. And Man United hosting Leicester City. So it's been a very interesting ride for Leicester. I think let's start from there. They started well, then they were all over the place. Then at a point, it looked like Brendan Rodgers was going to be fired. But he's turned things around. They are looking pretty good in the last few days.
As someone was saying, the way they've kind of picked up, this has gone from a very easy Man U win to what could be a potentially tricky game, considering all the games they are going through, and the fact that Mr. Casemiro will not be playing, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's the last game.
It's the last game.
Is it the last game?
Yeah, I think so.
It's the last.
Yes. So it's the second game.
After United, he missed
Yes,
both
Leeds, Leicester. Yes.
So this one is
so without Mr. Casemiro, this could be a bit difficult for them. So it's just a very weird, and that's the problem in Leicester. And that's the thing about the Premier League in general. There's a lot of teams with very good players who on their day look world class, but that's the thing about top players, is the consistency. So you have someone like Harvey Barnes. On his day, he's one of the better wingers in the league. He can do a lot of damage to you. You have someone like Kelechi Iheanacho. On his day, very good striker. He can drop deep. He can make things happen. He's a very good finisher as well. You have someone like Jamie Vardy. Now, we don't see it as much, but back in the day, you could rely on Jamie Vardy 7 times out of 10, he will show up. I mean, this is a Premier League Golden Boot winner for a reason. So, you look at this Leicester team, there's a few dangerous players in the team. So you are really...
James Maddison.
I was about to say James Maddison.
And look, he's one of my favorite players in the league.
I heard the stat that in his last about 19, 20 games, he scored or assisted 21 times. Something like that. So you have these dangerous players who on their day, they are very deadly. But that's the thing, is the consistency. And you can see that Leicester, they are now building something. Right now they are in a new centre-back partnership with, I believe it's Harry Suter and Wood's Face. So they are working through that. They are trying to get in their fullbacks. They are trying to sort out their midfield. So that's the thing about Leicester. You don't know which Leicester will turn up. You don't know which players are going to have a good game, which guys are not going to show up. So that makes them very dangerous. I mean, when you know they're in a bad patch of form, you know that at least they are not playing well. It's an easy win. But look what happened to Spurs last week. Spurs probably came to that game feeling a bit confident and were battered. Yeah.
Shock of their life.
Yeah, shock of their life. Exactly. So when you see that, you're just thinking to yourself, you don't know which Leicester will turn up. So if we were speaking about this game 2 weeks ago, I'm sure we all would have thought that,
easy
win. But when you look at now, Casemiro is suspended. They just had a very intense Europa League game we all saw on Thursday. This game becomes a bit more difficult for them. So I worry for them a bit that they could be a bit tired. Especially because the Thursday to Sunday turnaround is not very long.
They may rest players.
What?
They may rest players.
Exactly.
The next game is Barcelona.
Next game is Barcelona.
It depends on how serious you are taking the Europa League as well. So, and there's also and the injuries in the midfield are what concern, because I don't think McTominay is fit.
No.
So it's between Sabitzer and Fred to start.
Danger.
And there's no option on the bench. And if things go wrong, who are you bringing off the bench? Are you moving Bruno deep? What's going on? So all these things just make me worry for Manchester United. I still believe they are favourites, but it's going to be a lot harder than it should be. But they can still get the victory.
Emmanuel, we've seen Leicester's run at Old Trafford in the last 4 or 5 years, right? They lost 4-1. I remember that game. Pogba scored his first goal. They've lost a couple of games. Last season under Rangnick, they drew 1-1. I remember Kelechi Iheanacho, and then it was Fred that equalized. If you're Brendan Rodgers, you probably watched Man United on Thursday night. There's no Casemiro, so that's.
I just remembered Vegas might play midfield.
There's Vegas, who's United's
very
newfound number 10. If you were Brendan Rodgers, how would you get ready for this game? What would be your plan to try and worry Manchester United on Sunday?
I think to start with United's injury situation, they would want to kill this game early and rest players. So that plays into your favor because, one, they are playing at home. 2, they have this enviable record at home. I think they've gone 12, 13, 14, all competitions unbeaten. So they would want to protect that and guard that at all costs. So it plays into your favor. Make sure that, just make it hard for them to penetrate you and hit them on the counter. You have Harvey Barnes who has pace. You have Kelechi Iheanacho who can hold up the ball. You have James Maddison who could pick up a pass. These are your main 3 weapons. In transition, make sure that
Yuri
Telemans also
who can score a corker.
A screamer from anywhere. So let's say these are your 4 main weapons. Make sure that anytime you are in transition, one of these players is either on the run or on the ball. You will be able to find some joy against Manchester United, because whatever happens, they are going to rest players. Trust me, they would not want to go into Barcelona a weakened team. Plus, the injuries don't favor them. You've just beaten Spurs 4-1. You are brimming in confidence. You've had more rest. So you just go in there, make sure. And you know Brendan Rodgers, he doesn't like to sit back. He doesn't like to. He wants to go there and express himself. But for once, because if you do that with United, with the form Rashford is in, they probably start Garnacho.
At this point, he's not missing.
Yeah. So if you go in the open game, you could see against Leeds tried to play an open game. Just as they are showing that they tried to play an open game, they had some chances. But when the pendulum swung and Rashford got a chance, he scored. Yeah. Kills the game in there. Now you'd want to reply, you open up the game, they get another goal. You don't want to be in that situation, especially with United at home. So make sure that you do not concede, at least in the first half. Whatever it is, make it more difficult for them. Make them labor. Then now the coach has a decision to make. Okay. Do I let this match go and concentrate on Thursday, or I try to get something from this game? Then in that instance, you could put on more pressure on them, set pieces, make sure your weapons have the ball in possession, and then you could get something from this game.
Well, we'll see Brendan.
I just hope Kelechi Iheanacho start, because Brendan Rodgers had this tendency where he plays well, he drops him. And that funny thing.
And he's supposed to be starting this game. Daka and Vardy are not doing anything. He has to play.
So let's look at it from the other end. Erik ten Hag has been speaking about his team playing well against Barcelona. He felt they could have won. He felt the refereeing decision was poor. That's to the side. Now he has to try and get points against Leicester, because whether United like it or not, they are in a position where they can strengthen their grip on top 4 and seal that before the last weeks of the season.
Some people think they're in the title race.
So. No, I mean,
they are only 5 points off top.
Only 5 points. I don't think United would they want to think about.
Or they could determine where the title goes. Maybe
they may have a say. Maybe. I think 5 points is too wide to have a say. But anyway.
Oh no, I think 5 points ago. 14 games left.
Thereabout.
Anything could happen.
Yeah,
it's a crazy league.
5 points to 14 games left is it's not like it's 10 points. 5 points.
5
yeah.
points.
I mean, Arsenal were 8 points ahead just 3 weeks ago. Look at where we are now.
That's true. For Erik ten Hag, what should be his plan for Sunday? Because clearly he would want another win.
Well, look, you have to go at them. Like Emmanuel said, you want to finish the game and you want to get there. You want to win. That's probably what even helped City going into this Arsenal game. They didn't have a tough game that they had to exert mental energy for the full 90 minutes. 3-0 up at halftime. By the time the second half started, you know their foot was off the gas. You know that they put into second or third gear and kind of just played the game out. Sure, they conceded, but in the end, it was a comfortable victory. Yeah. Those things matter. And knowing Ten Hag, knowing that they have, and he took the Barcelona game very seriously. We saw the lineup he put out. We know he's taking it seriously. So we expect that, if anything, he's more likely to rest players here, and that could cost them. So, if anything, if you are not planning on resting players, you have to go full tilt very early, get your goals early, then take players out, play a bit defensive, and just ride the game out.
Okay, all right, we'll see. It's Erik ten Hag versus Brendan Rodgers in that game involving Man United and Leicester City. Guys, just a quick note on Brendan Rodgers. I was listening to a podcast somewhere, and people were saying that should Conte leave, should he replace Conte at Spurs? Would you?
I mean,
Rodgers at Spurs, would you think about it?
Has he ended?
That's the thing. If the Chelsea job had become available 2 years ago,
it
would have been him over Graham Potter.
I mean, there were even talks he could have gone to United.
Exactly. Yeah, so he was in that conversation. So if they end the season well, I believe he's kind of put himself back in that frame of the kind of up-and-coming manager ready to make his next step.
Is he still up-and-coming, Brandon?
I mean, up-and-coming is relative to the clubs you've been at, not your age. Because I believe Ten Hag is older than Pep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you would think of Pep as more established than Ten Hag because of the teams he's managed, how long he's been a top-level manager. So I think Brendan Rodgers will still be considered up-and-coming because of the profile of teams he's managed. I think even when he was managing Liverpool were in a crisis point in their history. that was one of the worst points in Liverpool's history, probably in the last 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
And he kind of brought a bit of feel-good factor back before he was eventually sacked, and Klopp has now put them back to the top. So he's not gotten a chance at even.
I think he was even ill-prepared for the Liverpool job. I think it was a step.
At the time.
Yeah, from Swansea to Liverpool. I think it was a step too
And
big.
I
He
think
managed it well,
yeah,
relatively.
he managed it well.
He almost won the league, so
I think
I'll
to
give
give him
that
the
to
Spurs job, I think is the next natural position because he did try nearly make Leicester a Champions League team. He fell at the last hurdle. I think
Twice.
Yeah.
But I think with Spurs, better players for sure. At least if Harry Kane does decide to stay, they're one of the best strikers in the division. It makes a
Your
difference.
son signed long term.
Yeah. So
some good players,
and it looks like Spurs are not afraid to spend money now.
Okay.
They spend a lot of money on certain positions, certain players. There's something to work with. I think
So it's not too outlandish.
I think he has ended for me.
You think he has?
Yeah.
And as someone says, what you
think
want
yes,
for a manager is a manager who's managing the league and been successful in the league. He's also won the FA Cup, mind you.
Exactly.
So there's a
Spurs would want that.
Harry Kane will want that more.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see some success. I mean, that was Leicester's first FA Cup. That was him.
Yeah.
That's something that had never been done before. So it's not like he's averse to doing things that have never been done before. So I think they could do worse than him.
I think he has ended
think he
based
has?
on the experience he's had at Liverpool, he's had at Chelsea. I mean, he managed Steven Gerrard and he almost won the league with him. So it could give you an indication that he can handle some egos in the team.
I even forgot about the trophies he had won at Celtic. There's
Yeah.
also that. So there's also that foreign success.
I mean, he's been successful somewhere. You'd have to give him.
I would even argue that he's been successful at Leicester. Relative that even Leicester,
Failed, I think, twice. Won
Leicester
the FA
themselves
Cup.
know that they won the league as a fluke. He made them he took them to Europe about 3 seasons, 4 seasons.
They were one game away from making
Yeah,
Champions.
Champions
If it were not for United,
Exactly. So I think for Leicester.
Wait, did they win the Shield the next season? I don't remember.
I think so.
Yeah, they won the Shield. So
he's got a shield.
He's
He's
got
got
a
a
shield.
shield.
I think he's a successful manager.
So you think
relative
he's
to
made
what-
an argument? For example, if Spurs think about him, you think he's made a good enough
And
argument?
let's be fair, this Leicester team needed rejuvenation, and it hasn't come. And these things are happening all around the world of football because of COVID. Because these people are business owners. So if you're a business owner and
their owner died,
their owner died, but not only that, their main kind of source of revenue is duty-free shops.
Yeah.
And what happened with COVID? People stopped traveling.
People stop traveling.
So that was definitely going to impact their income, impact their revenue, impact the amount of money they are willing to put into Leicester City. So all these things, you have to give him the benefit.
I think
of
the
doubt.
summer transfer they didn't sign anyone.
They didn't sign anyone, or they signed like one player on loan or something like that. So look, I think he's ended. So I would give him the chance.
Okay, all right. We'll see how it plays out. Is Eric Ten Hag versus Brendan Rodgers as Man United take on Leicester at Old Trafford on Sunday at 2 p.m.